Alright, so what I have here are some Costco pork belly strips. You can buy them like this from Costco. What I did is I took them out of their original packaging and vacuum sealed them because I wasn't sure when I was going to cook them. So let's go ahead and open it up and I'll show you what we're going to do. Okay, so now that they're out of the packaging, let's go ahead and cube these things up. So I'm looking for about the width of the knife when cubing. So we'll start about there. And we're going to put this on the offset today and get some smoke on them. Now when we cook these things, they're going to be extremely tender and really flavorful. So they're going to shrink up a little bit because, as you can see, it's kind of like a 50% fat to meat ratio. Alright, so now that we've got our pieces all cubed up, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start them off with some of Rob's rub. And you guys have seen me use this on the channel previously. It's the Trainwreck rub from Rob's. I'll leave a link in the description. I'm going to set one of these off to the side because, of course, Max is sitting right here and I don't want him to have any seasoning on his. So we'll just sprinkle this on there. We're going to get all sides. I'm going to flip them around a little bit. It'd probably be smart to do this in a container because then you can kind of just pour the seasoning in and flip them all around. But I didn't bring a container. Alright, so now that we've got them all seasoned up, let's go ahead and get our pit started. Today I'm using some post oak chunks. We're going to throw them in there while we let this fire kind of start up and the charcoal and the wood chunks start to burn down. A good way to get your charcoal to start a little bit faster is get yourself one of these little electric blowers. You can hold the trigger really lightly and it'll just put in a bunch of oxygen in there to get your charcoal ready nice and fast. Alright, while we let the charcoal burn down, let's go ahead and arrange our pork belly chunks. So I'm going to get it right in about the middle. Now we don't want our pork belly to touch each other, so space them out a little bit. Again, they're going to shrink up just a little bit. And we're going to cook these things down until they're fully tender. And then Max's treat. Okay, so now that we're set up, we'll let our charcoal burn down and we'll close this thing up. Alright, you can have a small piece now, but you gotta wait for the rest. Sit. Ah, good boy. Alright, so our charcoal is about ready, so let's go ahead and close it up and we'll come back when these things are starting to get tender. Alright, so these pork belly burn-ins here have been on this offset for a while. They've got tendered up, so we're going to go ahead and take them off. They've got enough smoke on them now, and just line them in this aluminum pan that I got here. They've probably been on for about, I don't know, two and a half hours. We're not going to put Max's in the pan. We'll just throw his on top to keep it out of the way. We're going to go ahead and close the lid to our offset here so we don't lose a bunch of heat, because these pork bellies are going to go back on after we put our little touch on them. Alright, so as you can see here, we've got our pork bellies in a foil pan. Now I'm going to go ahead and sprinkle some light brown sugar on this thing. It's already melting because they're so hot. So a little bit of brown sugar. And then we're going to take a stick of butter, cut it into a couple of cubes, and lay them in there. All right, so now that we've got our stick of butter in there, we're gonna go ahead and hit it with some honey. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and cover these things up with foil, and we're gonna put it right back in the pit. All right, we've got our stuff covered in foil. We're gonna put it back on the offset and let it go until they're really tender, and I'll show you the next step after that. Okay, so we're about hour 8. We've been checking on these things pretty regularly. I've been taking the tongs and kind of squeezing them, feeling about how tender they are. Now you want them to be really tender to the touch. I don't really want to squeeze them with my hands because it'd be way too hot. But if we took one of these and just squeeze it, and you can just see that it's falling apart there when we squeeze into it. So we'll throw that back in there. But these things are ready to go. Now, pork belly took a really long time to cook. I went through almost a full bag of the Costco charcoal for these things, and maybe it's because of the offset, and more than likely it's because of the offset. I think if I threw these in the barrel or in the Weber grill, they'd probably cook a little bit quicker, but we're gonna pull these things off. All right, so now that we've got our pork belly pieces pulled off, we're gonna wanna drain all of this oil. This is all the rendered down fat. So look for somewhere to discard that fat, or if you wanna use it for something else, but we're gonna just drain this thing. All right, so now that I've got these pork bellies drained off, what we have here is about a cup or so of apple juice. We're gonna add in some of the Rob's barbecue sauce here. And we're gonna add it into our apple juice. Let me see if I can get a camera shot of it. We want something that's gonna be a little watery because we're gonna put it back on the pit uncovered, and a lot of that apple juice is going to evaporate. So we've added our apple juice into, or we added our barbecue sauce into the apple juice. And now we got a butter knife. Let's go ahead and mix it up. So we'll go ahead and pour it in there. And then put it back on the grill. Alright, so we're kind of tossing these pork belly pieces around. Get your hand in there. Really just get them nicely coated in this barbecue sauce slash apple juice mixture. At this time you could add in some more rub if you'd like. But we're just going to toss them around in the Rob's barbecue sauce and then throw them back on the grill to let that really, we're going to let that really tack back up. Alright, so it's been about a good 9 hours that we've had these pork bellies cooking. The offset might not be the best way to do it, but I'm here to show you guys the results. So here we are with these pork bellies. Nice and tender. We're going to pull these things off, put them on the cutting board, and I'll show you what we got. Alright, so now that we've got all these pork bellies pulled off, let's go ahead and give them a try. So we can do a little squeeze test there, and you can see how tender they are. Let's give them a shot. They're so tender and sweet. Let's go ahead and give Max his piece. Sit. Sit. Good boy. Alright, now back to us. These things are so tender. I'm just squeezing them and they're just falling apart. This is just the fat here. These things are like candy. So it takes a long time, But I highly recommend anyone to just get out there and try this recipe. I mean, it's so good. Mm. Smoky, sweet flavor to them. You can't beat this. I'd waste a bag of charcoal on this any day. Let's give Max his other piece so he's not sitting here watching me. Ah, good boy. Alright, so that's going to do it for today's video, you guys. I really appreciate all the subscribers, all the love I'm getting here. So if you like these videos, like, subscribe, comment on them. Tell me what you want to see next. And until next time, alright, peace.